everyone, welcome back to another sketchbook tour. I filled this one on accident. This is not the sketchbook I thought that I would be premiering next. I had a different, much larger one that I was going to be showing you guys. But I went on a trip very recently to visit one of my oldest friends. Her name is Rosie. And I mean oldest as in, like, I've been friends with her longer than I've been friends with anyone else. And when I went to visit her, I think there were like maybe 6 pages of my other sketchbook left. And I brought like all my nice alcohol markers. I thought I would finish those last 6 pages in that week that I was with her. And I brought this along just to have a scribble book on the side, just in case I wanted to draw something that wasn't that high pressure. And then on that trip, I ended up filling like half of this. I didn't touch the other one at all. I was on a roll with this one. And you may be wondering about the title, I Say Worst. I guess there's 3 parts to that. One of them, this book is like literally the worst sketchbook I've ever drawn in. I believe I got it from Ross. I think it's all made out of like recycled paper, which is like cool and awesome and slay, I guess. But oh my god. I understand I put my sketchbooks through a lot, but like within the first week when I'd hardly done anything to it, she was already falling apart. Like the perforated pages come out real easy, so each page is like being torn out just from flipping through them. Some of the paper, like beyond the perforated edge, just where it's bound to the book, it started coming out there. No idea why. This book hates adhesive, so like my stickers and my glue sticks are fighting for their life. It sucked working in here. And yet I filled the whole thing and I'm very proud of it. So number 2, what I mean by worst sketchbook is that this is a scribble book. I didn't intend for anything in here to be made public. I think like only half of the sketchbooks that I fill generally get shown in tours on YouTube. Usually like the other half are scribble books, and those are just for me. This was supposed to just be for me, but I don't know. Sometimes I just get in the zone. I get into a flow state with the project and I have to see it through, and then it's like my everything and it's my baby and I love it so much. So you guys get to see the scribble book. And the part 3 to worst sketchbook is that I was very fixated on children's art during this. Rosie has 2 very young kids that I absolutely adore them. So while I was spending time there, I was spending time drawing with them, and I was really loving their drawings, and I came home and I was like still stuck on kids art. And I've got a game that I'm working on where some of the main characters are little kids, and I wanted to like explore, like get into their heads. What kind of art might they be making when they're bored and stuff? So there's just a whole lot going on in here. It's certainly not like a showcase of like, here's me trying to make the best art possible. This is just throwing shit on a page, but I'm extremely happy with it. I'm extremely excited to show it to you guys. Let's get started, shall we? So this is just a swatch page. When I first brought this home, I tested a couple markers. These are just like Pinterest studies. I was art blocked at the moment, and don't worry about this, by the way. We'll get to this later. But I just art blocked, so sometimes I'll just open up Pinterest and copy whatever I see just to get my hand going, just to have something going on in frame. These are just clown girls from Pinterest. These are some more clown-ish girls from Pinterest. That's not a clown. These were my 2 doodles just for me, just for fun. These are some of my game characters. If you haven't heard that, if you're from the channel but you haven't heard that part yet, we're turning Prism into a game right now. Expect hopefully the demo for that within the next year, I hope. I'm real excited. And I started on these. It was right after we posted that video about getting into working on the background concept art for that Prism game specifically. If you watched that video, I had a hard time. I was struggling. One second, let me make sure I'm recording. Am I? I'm fucking not. Cool, we'll start over. Was I? No, I was. I was recording, it's just not showing me. That's weird. Anyway. If you saw that video, you saw I was really struggling with background, so after that video premiered, that night I like got into bed, I pulled the sketchbook out again, and I was like, maybe I'll spend this whole sketchbook just doing background studies. So these are from Pinterest. I believe this one's definitely also from Pinterest. This one's like a 50-50 shot if it's a photo I took while I was in Japan or if it's off of Pinterest. This one I know I took this picture because this is the Oslo airport. I was there a few years ago. I really liked the Oslo airport, and you can't really see it, but I put ᴬᵐᵃ here, my game character. But on this paper, if I tried to put like my ink pens on top of my highlighter too quickly and my highlighter was still wet, it just bled everywhere, so you could hardly tell. And like I was thinking I'll do backgrounds for the whole sketchbook. Immediately drawing Cat, my main girl Cat, for posterity, for morale. One more background over here while I was practicing for some game locations, and then these are just a bunch of Zuzu and Bunny scribbles, because she's so bunny-coded to me. This is my living room, actually. This, I believe, is from Animal Crossing, and ignore this page for a second. This is chronologically what was drawn next. This was the Sunday, the last day of San Japan. And if you guys know the Starfish Face, they were tabling at San Japan, and they invited me to come sit with them for a little bit. So I did, and they drew in my sketchbook, and I drew in theirs. But then this was the first day of my trip to go see Rosie. So this is the airport gate that I was sitting at. This is, Pikachu's been on my mind. I'm trying, guys. I'm still working on it. This I was drawing while we were on the plane, like during the flight. This is also, I was drawing the flight while I was on the plane. I watched the Beetlejuice movie for the first time. I've seen the musical. I've never seen the movie before. I did not realize how different they would be. And I really enjoyed it, honestly. I really like both of them, but I really caught on to what they did with all the forced wonky perspective with like these different checkerboard floors, and I really zoned in on that. These are like some pens that I bought while I was on that trip, and I got them specifically for the checkerboard, and I already associated Neneko with checkerboard. I think they really, really enjoy checkerboard. Oh my god, even my coffee. Hello? Nice. Yeah, I don't know, feeling checkerboard lately for Neneko, so I was going into that. These checkerboard bits I also did just doodling while I was watching the movie. I also did these checkerboards while watching the movie. But after I landed, this is the first thing I drew after I landed. I reunited with Rosie. I was so excited to see her. And like right away, she had a dog training class that she was doing at the like barn that she houses her horse at. So I went to the dog training class. I was drawing some of the dogs there. This is her horse. This is a concept for an absence. for my game. I needed to design a cat absence for something we're working on. You guys will see it eventually. This was when we got back from dog training. I knew I wanted to start sketchbooking something, but I wasn't ready to jump into the one that I wanted to make a lot of pretty art for. So I'm like, perfect. That's exactly why I have this book. That's exactly why the scribble book is here. And I decided just to start by drawing more absence, that the monster from the story that I'm working on. It's just like shadowy, formless, like the monsters you think you see out of the corner of your eye, but they're all kind of like a hive mind as well. I was drawing these with my non-dominant hand. No planning going into them, just doodling while we were sitting on the couch together watching TV. And then this is like kaleidoscope origami paper. I brought some of that with me, and I was ripping it up and seeing how I could like paste it together to make different monsters. I swear there used to be a piece of paper here, but I guess it fell off because this sketchbook hates glue. Awesome. Here's another origami absence. I believe this is another thing I did with my left hand. These are from a highlighter pack that Rosie gave me like as soon as I arrived at the house. I am so easy to shop for. You can give me like the world's shittiest highlighters, but if they're like somewhat novelty or like I haven't seen them before, I'll go, yay! So I had to keep the packaging from them and scrapbook them, and then just to go with the heart theme, I drew with my left hand an anatomical heart absence, perhaps? I don't know, could be fun. Editor, blur this next page, this bit, for trypophobia just in case. This was the second highlighter pack that Rosie gave me. They looked like sunflowers. They just like all link up together. And around this time, we had started watching a bunch of old Warrior Cats AMVs and maps and stuff, just like the real classic ones. All the best maps, but also like we're talking like Alley Catnya AMVs, Dark Kokiri AMVs, Flightfoot Warrior AMVs, like the classics. Because that's how Rosie and I know each other. Wrong. Rosie and I, we met just by doing an art trade on DeviantArt, but we became friends because we realized we were both like in that Warrior Cats community. So we bonded a lot over Warriors. So as we're watching, I was in a very Scourge mood, so that's why there's lots of cats and teeth, and because there's flowers on the page, I just added them everywhere. So unblur this for a bit, editor. These are just like eyes made of teeth with more eyes in them. I don't know. Scourge Warrior Cats. Oh, really embracing that Flightfoot Warrior aesthetic on this page over here. But this is just a design I came up with for Scourge, like maybe even a year ago. And I really liked it, and I felt like drawing him. Back when I was really into Warriors, Cinderpelt was my favorite, but with a lot of years of hindsight, I find myself drawn to Scourge and Hollyleaf a lot. These are some more absence over on this page. This was like, I was trying to look around the room when it was dark and see what kind of shapes I could force myself to make out of other things. I think this was like a rabbit stuffed animal on top of a pile of clothes, or a pile of blankets on top of the dog kennel. And I've made this with it. I don't even know where this one came from. This is just left hand shenanigans. And this was the first time we had watched K-pop Demon Hunters while I was over there. I didn't see K-pop Demon Hunters for the first time while I was there. I just mean while I was there, we watched it multiple times because Rosie's kids love K-pop Demon Hunters. So I did these with, I don't know if this is my left hand. This is probably my right hand actually, but I was just looking at the K-pop demons. Some more Scourge and Firestar over here. I was really feeling the Warriors mood. I was trying to draw Scourge and Tiger Star and Firestar and Blue Star over here. I did not like how this was turning out, so I didn't even bother finishing with Blue Star. I'm so out of practice with cats. Every single time I tried to draw Tiger Star in here, he just kicked my ass, dude. Because a lot of the maps that we had been watching together, like a lot of my favorite current day maps are all like AU maps. I'm so into those. Oh my gosh, Lovers, Brothers, Killers, please go watch the zombie AU map. So good. It just had me going. I was thinking, man, I wish I could have like a little Warriors AU of my own. But I'm thinking a lot about Scourge right now. So what else can I do with Scourge? I got confused. I thought to myself, could I do anything interesting with like his dad leaving? Who is his dad anyway? Is it Pine Star? Like, I got really excited about the idea of like, oh, I could definitely do stuff with like Pine Star being the one who left him. And then I realized, no, Pine Star is Tiger Star's dad. And Firestar and Scourge are the kids of Jake. I'm like, oh, that's so lame. Damn, all of my cool ideas. If only their dad was Pine Star. Wait, it's an AU, I can do that. If all three of them were brothers. I thought about this AU a lot while I was at Rosie's place. I was like, if I hosted a map, hypothetically, what song would I use for it? It'd have to be like the perfect, like early 2000s edgy Warrior Cats kind of vibe song. And I found the perfect one. We will talk about it a little bit later. This page was almost entirely dedicated just for Rosie's kids to draw on. I think mostly just Rosie's older child drew on this page. She brought me some stencils to try filling in and some different stickers. This was actually from a few days later. We'll talk about that. This was just more kaleidoscope paper that I pasted down, seeing if I could get any sort of interesting absence out of it. But because it's kaleidoscope, I was kind of having a hard time coming up with any designs that weren't perfectly symmetrical. And then here's the AMV that I came up with, or the map or whatever. I was thinking if they were all gonna be brothers, that the perfect song that I could use for them was Welcome to the Black Parade. And I have that whole like animatic mapped out in my head. I started planning it over the next few pages here. I wrote out all the lyrics and I filled in like some of the shot ideas. I was just like scribbling down ideas to make sure that I had a visual to go with them to really lock them into my head. I didn't end up finishing actually drawing on each page, but I have it fully planned out. I'm not going to promise a single thing. I'm currently in 2 maps right now, and until I'm finished with those 2 parts, I'm not going to consider anything. But if we get to a point where I have finished both my map parts and I have the spare time, I don't know, it could be kind of fun to do a Warrior Cats map again. I'm feeling the vibe. I'm in the mood. So yeah, like this page, I already wrote all the lyrics and my ideas for what would go in this section of the song up here. I got this one shot down and then I never got around to doing the other shots. I started filling in these pages. And at this point, going forward, there will be a lot of pages that still have the planning on it, but because by the time I actually got to the end of this sketchbook, a lot of these pages were still mostly blank. I came back and I scrapbooked over top of them later. And I scrapbooked over top of them with the help of this video's sponsor, µᴬᵝ. I love just pasting things into my sketchbook and treating it like it's a scrapbook, saving clippings off tickets and receipts or these empty frames of stolen stickers because some of you people are animals. But making a pretty scrapbook spread is harder than it looks. It's completely intuitive, and developing your personal style for them can make them a little daunting. So I'm happy to say that today we're sponsored by µ⴬ᵝ, an online community and resource where crafters and DIY enthusiasts can find creative inspiration, advance their skills, and learn new ones along the way. Craftsy offers more than 2,000 classes in over 20 categories like crochet, sewing, painting, whatever you're craving. Each class is broken down into easy-to-follow lessons led by award-winning instructors who take their time to go through each process step by step. I picked up some interesting tips from the class Bright Ideas, Mixed Media for Every Project by ᴠᴦᵏ, like placing watercolor dots and then connecting the lines into these pretty rainbow constellations, or dripping paint onto the paper and blowing on it to make this really cool splatter down effect. You can learn all about that and more if you check out Craftsy. The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a full year of premium membership for only $1.49. Yes, you heard that right, not even $2. Keep in mind, this offer is valid for new members only. Thank you so much to Craftsy for sponsoring, and now on with the tour. Over here's more of the AMV planning. This is just Neneko with a bunch of, I got this from the gas station that night. This is from a toy that we got at Michael's. It's like literally a Beyblade, but a Crayola marker, and it's awful. It's just awful. But it had a cover so that you could like customize your own little cover for it, and I sketchbooked it instead. I scrapbooked it instead. This is from some child art that I was trying to do, and I messed it up. These were supposed to be exactly matching, so I could just swap them on each other's pages. And instead they were exactly mirrored, so my original plan went out the window, and I just had to paste the butterfly over here. This is something that my friend Sushi drew. Sushi sent me a package for my birthday and had a whole bunch of their art in it. I was really excited. This is more AMV planning. These are some tigers that I drew on stock from wine boxes. And this is a tiger that I got Patrick to draw me. If you remember, if you saw that sketchbook tour where I collected tigers for a bunch of strangers, I'm doing that again. I'm continuing to try and ask people for tigers. So that's the one from Patrick. He named it Otto. This is more AMV planning. This is another card that my friend Sushi made and sent me, and I put some extra stickers on it to really go with this little Neneko spread that I have here. This clock, while I was actually scrapbooking these and putting everything together, I was on call with Chi while we were hanging out with Patrick. And at some point, she like challenged him to draw a clock to see if he had like, I don't know, Alzheimer's or something. And as soon as he finished, I grabbed it and I cut it out and I added it to the scrapbook. Had to go in there. I really like this spread. Ooh, the little gem makes it hard to close, but I love it. Got cat on this side. There's nothing underneath cat, but they can still flip around anyway. This is more of the AMV planning. See, this is the spread I messed up on. Originally, it was supposed to, this butterfly was supposed to just fit perfectly back into here with the sides swapped, but I don't know how to cut paper on a kindergarten level, I suppose, so that didn't happen. This is more of the warriors planning over here. This is an absence that I made with one of the techniques that I learned from the Craftsy sketchbooking class that they did. It was like, you took watercolor droplets and you would just put droplets everywhere, and then later just with water on your brush you'd connect them and let the colors flow together. Came out very fun. I did it on regular paper, and then on a paper I drew checkerboard on, and then I just like cut them apart and stitched them together in the middle, drew on top of it. And these little wooden things, when I was at the art supply store grabbing stuff to scrapbook with, I was with Patrick, and he like turns around and he sees these tiny wooden houses, and he goes, would it be funny if during the sketchbook tour I just edited in me like destroying this little house for no reason? I said, sure, Patrick, let's do that. And I picked it up and I put it in my bag. We were talking about how we were gonna make this bit work that we were really just doing so impromptu. And we never got around to doing that because the literal moment we got home and turned our backs, my dog Jenko ate that house. So these are some of the remains of it. These are like the windows. I had to scrapbook them. Had to do it. This is a spread I didn't end up finishing, but we've got like cat as Hello Kitty, and we've got funny little prism letters over here. This was the end of that like Warriors animatic planning, and Rosie drew this little scourge on top here. This is the page that Rosie did for me. This is her OC Brio and Fermata. These are her little Fursona Rosie. She drew Firestar right here, and then there's Apollo Star of Dome Clan. I love that. I love she turned his laurels into like little Scottish fold ears. So cute. This was some absence I was doing. I believe I did these with my right hand. It's while we were watching Planet Earth. So I think this is based on a penguin. This is some kind of bird. I can only assume this was an elephant. I don't remember what animal we were looking at when I drew this one. This was a page that I planned out just with the stickers. Rosie's kid had brought me one of her sticker books because she saw that I was so into the stickers. So she was like, you could have any of these that you want. It was just a book with 1,000 different stickers. They're all in wildly different art styles. Those are the stickers that I used to decorate the cover of this. On this page, I just pulled out some other stickers that I liked and I decorated the page with them, and I came back to fill the page in based on the stickers later. So this is my OC12, who has just a bazillion eyes on their body. It had to go with the eye sticker. And then Zuzu is so rabbit to me, so I drew Zuzu right there. This is Lily. This is my character Ilaria, and she is about the same age as Rosie's oldest. So I was doing studies while I was there. I was like, what do these kids act like? And this was just the living experience with both of Rosie's kids. They always are like, I want to sit with June. I want to sit with June. I have two sides, children. You can both come sit with me. This, I believe, was our second watch of K-pop Demon Hunters. I did this page just trying to draw the girls myself, and I absolutely could not stand it. I was very frustrated with how this turned out. And what that always means is that it's time for me to sit down and do some studies. So I had Rosie send me 6 screenshots of all the main 3 girls, and I just drew them like wholesale, 100% copied them in my sketchbook. So this is my Zoe page. These are my Zoe studies. These are my Mira studies, and these are my Rumi studies, because everyone always likes to see the bad version underneath the sticky note. There's her long face. Yeah, doing studies like these when I'm particularly like I don't know what to draw and I'm feeling frustrated about what I'm doing. These always like do the trick. They cheer me up. They make me I feel recalibrated, reoriented with them. This page, oh yes. So I was trying so hard to get these kids to draw with me. I wanted some of their art to take home with me terribly, so terribly. But I ended up, we all went to Wendy's for dinner one day, and I brought this sketchbook and a bunch of greens because I thought I was going to be doing more art studies like these with Apothecary Diaries characters, because Rosie loves Apothecary Diaries. We were watching season 2 together. So I was bringing greens so I could draw Mau Mau, and we sit down at Wendy's, and both the kids look at me with something to do, and they went, we want to draw. And I went, oh, you can absolutely draw. So I handed Skylar my sketchbook. I handed it to her on this page. And Rosie's younger kid drew this like little ocean scene here. There's like, I believe this is a whale. This is a funny turtle. The sun is under the ocean, this being the ocean. The sun is crossed out because it's not the real sun. I'm gonna be so honest, I don't remember what kind of fish this is, and I don't remember what math we were doing here. But I love it. I love this page. And Skylar was, honest to God, she started rage baiting us. So like she starts drawing this little freak and she's like, this is dad. This is what daddy looks like. And we're like, what? That's crazy. Your daddy doesn't look like that. And she starts giggling and trying to like make it crazier. So like he had just the 2 legs at first. Like these 3 legs weren't here. And she's like, well, I'm drawing your mouth on top of your head. And we're like, oh no. And she goes, I'm drawing your ears on your knees. And we're like, oh no. And then she goes, and you have 3 legs. And we went, ah! She got a big reaction from that. So she went, 5 legs. And she's so cute. It was a crazy moment in that Wendy's. But she finishes drawing of her dad. And then back on the page we left off on, oh, I went too far. This was her drawing of her mom. So this was her rendition of Rosie. It was like, they had eye sockets, but no eyes in them. Like the eyes were supposed to be on the forehead. And then there's like a bunch of extra heads, and these are all like the extra ears and all the legs that have a shirt and shoes on them. I ended up later doing fan art for this turtle and for this version of Rosie, so you guys will see that in a bit. This I did one of the mornings when the kids were up with me. They put on Despicable Me on the TV and were so perfectly still and did nothing but watch it. So I drew them very quickly because they were just the perfect little models. Here are those Apothecary Diaries studies. We've got Mau Mau over here and Jinshi over here. And this is where I tore out that page for Rosie's youngest. This we put on Ponyo at some point, and none of these were studied directly off of any frame. I was just like trying to carefully pay attention to Ponyo's proportions as the movie was running and trying to draw her myself. The best ones are the ones where she looks the most freakified, where it looks like her eyes are trying to escape her face. There's a little Kirby down here because Rosie's kids really liked playing Kirby. This is my page with fan art of this is Skylar's dad. This is Rosie's youngest turtle. And at this point, actually, this page, if you ignore all of the blue highlighter that I did, Skylar had come up to me and she asked, oh, June, do you want to trade sketchbooks? Do you want to, you draw in yours, like you draw in my sketchbook and I draw in yours? And I was like, yes, Skylar, yes, I want to do that, absolutely. So she gives me her sketchbook, she goes to draw in mine, and she immediately like places a stencil down. I'm like, oh man, oh well. Because I really just wanted like art that was off the top of her head, like just straight from her imagination. That's the stuff that I'm really excited about. But Rosie says that she's at that age where she's starting to become aware that her art doesn't necessarily look good and that it makes her a little bit self-conscious. I get it. I understand, kid. I'm not gonna knock you using stencils, but she drew that and then she tried to draw something for me, gave up on it real quick. And then on this page, nope, on this page, she drew this little dog and called it good. Meanwhile, I drew, her kids also really love Miraculous Ladybug. They're so goated like that. So I drew Ladybug in her sketchbook, like a nice fully colored one, and she went, oh, thank you. Well, I'm still drawing. You should draw in there more. I'm like, all right. So she got Ladybug and Queen Bee out of it. This page is where I drew the fan art of Rosie as depicted by her daughter. And this is a comic that I started after the trip ended. I was on a very dark plane and I was scribbling it out. Didn't end up coming back to finish it, but Rosie's sister had come to visit at some point during my visit, and she said, oh yeah, I was telling my husband that June was here, and he asked how June and Rosie met. And I said, oh, they met drawing cats on YouTube. And then he asks me, oh, so June made it and Rosie didn't? And I went, ah, what? No! You can't talk about like my Rosie like that. How dare you? So I started trying to draw that out there. That was crazy. I didn't end up finishing it, probably mostly because Rosie's sister doesn't have a fursona. Rosie, you're slacking. What do you mean you didn't design her a fursona? You're a fake furry. On this page, I was still pretty art blocked. Actually, for the majority of this earlier sketchbook, aside from these, these little collage spreads I did after the fact, I, for the most part, had no idea what I wanted to draw on any of these pages going into them. I was really just trying to keep my hand moving. So for this one, I decided to use an old art trick I'd heard of. It's just you make a blobby silhouette with a color and you try and put a character onto it. Absence seemed to be the theme of this sketchbook, so I did blobby colors and then a bunch of monsters. And then I got this great idea. I thought, ooh, perfect. This is the perfect thing to ask the kids for. I can ask Rosie's two kids to both do a page of shapes for me each, and then I'll have like a little tribute to them on here. So I asked Skylar to come over and make me shapes, and ignore these for a bit, ignore these ones. I asked Skylar to come over and I explained everything. I'm like, just give me a random shape. It looks like a blob and I'll turn it into something else. And she goes, okay. And she draws a cube. And I go, okay, fundamental queen, absolutely. That's awesome, that looks great. But I'm like, oh, Skylar, what I meant by a shape was like a any kind of random blob shape. And she goes, yeah, I know. And she draws a triangular prism. And then she draws another one. And I'm like, oh, man. Rosie came up behind us on the couch to like peek at what Skylar was doing, and then like looked at me and she was like, is this everything you dreamed of it being? I'm like, no, but that's fine. And she's like, Skylar, you should try and draw what June asked you to. Skylar's like, no, I want to draw cubes. And we're like, that's fine, Skylar, you do that. It's like herding cats, trying to get kids to do anything. And I'm not mad. I genuinely think it's very funny and charming. But, I don't want to like push her to draw things that she doesn't want to be doing. It's supposed to be fun for everyone involved. So I did these shapes myself and I filled them out myself. And I was still blocked after that, so I just drew more wonky checkerboards. After the kids went to bed that night, I believe I sat down to show Rosie my personalized Epic the Musical playlist, my own playlist where I picked out all the best animatics for it, all the June-approved best ones. Because Rosie, when I had visited her back in February, she's the person who got me into Epic in the first place, so I thought it was kind of coming full circle to show her my favorites in a playlist. And her husband sat down to watch it with us, and he'd never watched Epic all the way through. So I told Rosie, I'm like, okay, your kids won't give me shapes, you and Quinn will give me shapes, you and your husband. So these are the shapes that Rosie gave me, and these are the shapes that her husband gave me. I love all of them, but Quinn made some crazy, like, I never would have thought to do branching stuff like this. So these are really exciting to do. And then to commemorate the night that we had watching Epic together, I peeled the labels off of the drinks that I had, and I pasted them in here and made a little Niniko fashion spread based on some Pinterest clothes. And then on this page, I did just I scribbled out some ideas that I had for Neneko and Tia to Warrior of the Mind, because you are Cynthia, badass in the arena. These were from a shark sticker book that Rosie's kids brought to me, so I picked out some sharks that I thought were kind of freaky looking, and I just set them on the pages, and I would come back to them later. There's one on this page too. I ended up not doing anything with it though. But I drew some freaky little shark things, and these are Rosie's characters again. This is Brio and Lyric. And Brio, because I drew him here because he's got a shark theme himself. So then I also drew this freaky shark as an actual shark Brio. He's freakio now. This page, Rosie, the same place that she took me where I got these pens. It was a little like a farmer's market. Someone had a bunch of stickers, and one of them was a rhino, and I had to get that because if you guys have seen my my oh no, I'm accidentally a furry video or whatever, where I talk about these characters. These are my Wanted by Beast characters, and I actually designed them for the very first time while Rosie was visiting me. Their placeholder names were based off of Rosie and her husband. So you can see like these are abbreviated. They were like 3 words each, but LTR just turned straight into later. BDQ, we just took the Q off the end and called them Clory. I miss these guys. I miss my little bounty hunter brothers. These were some Miraculous studies because the kids had so much Miraculous on TV. I yet again just asked Rosie to send me 6 pictures of each of them. And on the next couple pages, I had brought some Miraculous stickers with me to share with the kids. And lo and behold, the kids already had some Miraculous stickers that they brought out to share with me. So the next couple pages, I had just decorated with a mix of my stickers and the kids' stickers. And I didn't fill the pages in until after my trip. After I had returned home. My friend Patrick had come over, and we caught up on the new Miraculous season together. And it overtook me. I needed to draw it again. Oh my god. Guys, did you know that Miraculous Season 6 is kind of awesome, actually? Like, we're kind of so incredibly back. We're back in the building. We're back in the building, and it feels good to be genuinely excited about Miraculous again. It's awesome. It's kind of great. So I drew the only ship that matters right here. I drew my favorite girl, Chloe. When I asked Rosie's kids who their favorite characters were, Rosie's youngest said Marinette, and I went, that's fair. That's fair. You do you, little guy. And then her oldest went, Chloe. And I went, Skylar! I didn't know you had game like that. She's like, goated choice. And she said, if it's not Chloe, then it's Jagged Stone. I'm like, I'm talking to a fan. What? What's happening? And then over here, I drew Apollo and Neneko as Hawkmoth and Cat Noir, because it's just kind of funny how similar the dynamics are. I mean, vaguely similar. There's not. Apollo is much nicer to Neneko than Gabe is to Adrian. It's my little Adrian spread. After Patrick and I caught up on Miraculous, I told Chi that she needed to see it because everything happening with Adrian was like everything that she loves in characters. And oh my god, Chi was bouncing off the walls. She sent like this picture of Plague eating cheese and said, "This is me right now." It was real good. I asked her if she had any requests for my Cat Noir spread, and she wanted that one painting of Lucifer, that one really angsty one redrawn with Cat Noir, so I said, okay. This page, oh my god, apparently Rosie's been living next to a burger chain called Apollo Burger all this time and didn't tell me until I was actually there. So we had to go. I said, I have to put Apollo branded things in my sketchbook. So this is everything that they gave us. These are what the burgers came in. This is the Apollo sauce. This was our receipt. I sent Quinn up to ask if they had any stickers, and they gave us the logo that they used to seal up like Uber Eats orders. And I took an aloe vera drink with me to complete it, to make the full set, so I had to draw them eating little burgers together. Poor Aloe wouldn't actually know what a burger tastes like. This page, I'm so excited. So this was our 3rd time watching K-pop Demon Hunters, and as we sat down to do that, Rosie's youngest came to sit with me, and he's like, "Can I draw with you?" And I went, yes, who do you want to draw? Do you want to draw like K-pop? Do you want to draw like the tiger? Do you want to draw Derpy Tiger? I was like, that might be a cool way to convince the kids to give me a tiger. He goes, no, I want to draw Rumi. I said, that's awesome. So I tore a page out, and this is his drawing of Rumi, and on the back he drew Zoe. And I love it. I love them. So I keep them right here. And I decided to draw K-pop Demon Hunters with him. So on this page, I did my own tigers. I did Derpy the Tiger studies that I had Rosie sent me. And just to fill space, I used this like golden paint marker that I had to write out the Huntrix logo. I didn't mean for it to spill onto the other page, but after that happened, I'm like, I guess this is a 2-page spread now. And honestly, I'm glad that happened. I really like how the spread turned out. This is another drawing of the main 3 girls, just referenced off of like 2 different screenshots of golden. And then here's the golden honmoon. This is from a place called ᴠᴠ. Every single time I visit Rosie, we have a tradition. We always go to ᴠᴠ. And this recent time that we went, I saw that they had a tiger mascot. And I'm still on my tiger bullshit. So Rosie saw me just like staring at these gift cards, like wide-eyed trying to figure out how do I get one of these without loading it with money, because I literally wouldn't be able to spend it. And as soon as we walked away after placing our order, Rosie just snatched it and gave it to me afterwards. I'm like, oh, Rosie, you love me. So here's their mascot drawings. And then Rosie has a cat named Effie, and he's just a black cat. And if you've seen some of my other sketchbook tours, you know I like doing this. I like drawing black cats as voids. On this page, I just kept it up because Rosie really liked these, so I had her send me pictures of all of her dogs. She's got 3 of them, and I just drew them from photos over here. I really like how this page turned out. I think this page, they start not to look like themselves, but Rosie liked it, so that's what matters. I really like the Sparky. She looks silly. This is the last page that was done while I was still visiting Rosie. She took my sketchbook and drew in it one more time, so this is her character Brio. I drew Fermata in her sketchbook. And then I had to be taken to the airport. Had just a ridiculous time at that airport, by the way. They sent me through the security line 3 times. Oh my God. But when I actually got on the plane, it was a very dark plane because it was a very late flight and I didn't want to disturb anybody with light. So I was just drawing cats from references in the dark. So it was very scribbly. More scribbly cats. We got a scribbly Apollo over here. Mwah. I don't remember what compelled me to draw him in that moment, but do I need a reason? This was the first thing I drew after I got home from my trip. Like I said, I was thinking a lot about kids' art, and specifically like what would Lily be drawing inside the dome in Prism, because they don't have a lot to keep them entertained, and they gotta make the use of all of they gotta make the most use out of all the paper that they've got. So I was just thinking about her a lot. These are just some different studies of her face. I've been playing with the idea of letting her have some spectrums. I've had it so that Lissy was the one, like her twin sister Lissy was the one that could make like little creatures with her magic, and that Lily just made like structures. But I like the idea that maybe instead that Lily's also able to make creatures, but instead of like making multiple, like continuing to make more creatures like Lissy does, that Lily would just make 2 of them and would constantly be like changing their designs. So that they were always representing like an angel, like a shoulder angel and a shoulder demon, but they looked different all the time, just based on this little kid's constantly changing interests. And at some point they could be like a Firestar and Scourge reference. I thought that would be cute. This was an idea I had for some game dialogue that I had to write down. Just another cat study over here. And at this point I told Chi that I was like really thinking about how the kids are drawing, and she said, go get crayons. So I did. I bought a whole pack of crayons from the store and I got started on it. This is some art I imagine the kids making. Similar for this. These pages are falling out for literally no reason. It's ridiculous. Please stop falling apart on me. I was testing, these are allegedly metallic crayons, and if you get it in the perfect lighting, I suppose it shines a little bit, but hardly. These were the neon crayons, and I guess these are a bit more accurate to what they're advertised as. And then paste on top, she had sent me that she came up with a new figure drawing method she really liked, of doing like the torso as an upside down heart and the pelvis as a regular heart. And I was like, oh, I have to try that. So I did 2 sketches, and then I did the line art for this one, and then in this one I realized I saw someone. I recognized someone in this sketch, so I drew Lancer instead, and it just completely derailed me. I started looking up like kindergarten art assignments, and a lot of people on Pinterest will like post the art wall that all the kindergartners did, where they all get the same assignment, we just see how differently they do it. I was following a couple different assignments and like bashing them together to make maximum use of my paper space. But we have this one. I feel a little embarrassed and childish for how much I love this spread, but I'm actually crazy about this one. I adore this to bits and pieces, and I'm grappling with how to feel adult about it, but it was so much fun. And then this one. So this is like an interactive piece. So you can, like, oh, he's got a funny little blanket, and you can take it off, and he's right under there. And we drew, like, the kids would have drawn a couple more bears under it. But then they would have, like, left it alone at this point. I'm like, well, ᴬᵦᵏ would have come back and made more use of the paper. So you could take his little blanket off. ᴬᵦᵏ would have drawn, like, a different underbelly for him and just, like, added on to the rainbow from the back of this blanket thing. And then on the back of all of that, I drew ᴬᵦᵏ in a claw machine, but I didn't feel like adding all the plushies in, so these are just, like, puffy stickers. I really like that. This, I was still very ᴬᵦᵏ brained while doing this one. I was like, what would ᴬᵦᵏ be drawing? And what would ᴬᵦᵏ be drawing except for reverent art pieces of the girl that they're helplessly in love with? After I finished drawing this one, I had to take a break and I started redecorating my house. I was so in the ᴬᵦᵏ zone that I just started like really sticker bombing and personalizing everything that I have. I'll include some footage of like what I did to my dresser. I love what I did to my dresser. And I was really in the zone. Came back to my sketchbook for this. This is when Patrick came over right before we watched Miraculous together. We went to go see Weapons in theaters, and I drew this on one of the order cards that came in our theater. Patrick really likes Tia, so like I finished drawing it, and then he did this. He did this, and I'm looking at his fingers. I'm like, what does that mean? What are you doing? He goes, I'm holding her hand. I'm like, oh, okay, very, very funny. So I traced his hand there, and I had to draw, what? It was just ridiculous looking. This, I told Patrick I was getting shapes from everyone, so that meant I needed to get shapes from Patrick too. This is while we were watching Miraculous. I think we also watched, what's it called? Another ridiculous movie. I forget. Patrick, put the name on screen. Something about a hand job, I don't know. And I was having a real good time with all of these shapes, so I had Patrick give me one more page of shapes, and I believe this is while we were watching Man Crybaby. Man Crybaby is my favorite anime ever, but Patrick hadn't seen it before, so it was his first time watching. I drew a bunch of 12s in honor of it, because 12 reminds me of Man Crybaby. It feels like all my love for Man Crybaby went into this design, and that makes me very happy. So a bunch of 12s while we were going through our watch through. And then we got to, I think this guy's in episode 10. This is like my favorite Man Crybaby character. He exists for exactly 2 shots, maybe a collective 10 seconds of screen time. I love him. These were all studies of his 2 shots from the show. And then I just drew these myself. This was right after Patrick left from hanging out. I scrapbooked some of the snacks that we had while he was here, and I made a whole bunch of leaves. I was like really enjoying the multimedia thing, and I just like the texture of crayons. I just kind of like having them to touch. So more art as if I'm someone who's in love with Cat. This was when my friend Fire came to visit me right after Patrick left. Fire and I both have that Pokemon autism, and he brought his DS, and I was talking about like, man, I've been really wanting to play Explorers of Sky again, and I've always played them as like a Skitty and a Charmander. That's who I always play ever since I was a kid. I like wrote my own I wrote my own story about them. But I really wanted to play with a Pikachu and an Eevee and let it be Cat and ᴬᵦᵏ. But both of my DSs are fucking busted, and I can't play games on either of them. Fire's like, I'll let you borrow mine. I went, So I've been playing Explorers of Sky with them again, drawing this based on them. And someone from my throne bought me a label maker, and I've just gone nuts with it. I love that label maker. Whoever bought it, thank you. These are more Cat and ᴬᵦᵏ with the Explorers of Sky and with scenes from that. These are when I got shapes from Fire to turn into funny little absence dudes. In the morning, we wanted to get breakfast together somewhere, and Fire really likes doing life drawings of locations that he's in. So I was trying to think of where I could take him that was like a nice, pretty place to go to. So we decided on Whiskey Cake. It's got like a cool rustic vibe in there. It's very beautiful. The food's great. And we sat down at the table and we both pulled our supplies out, and our waitress went like, oh, that's really great. I love seeing you guys art it up. I'm a tattoo artist myself. And she walks away after having said that, and I'm like, Fire, I have to ask her for a tiger. It took me 3 tries. It took me 3 tries to work up the nerve to ask her for a tiger. But I did, and she was very excited about it. She's like, I just drew one yesterday. So she drew this for us. And while we were making conversation during it, Fire asked her, like, oh, you're a tattoo artist. Have you done any of your own tattoos? And she pulls up her pant leg and shows us a bird and a cowboy boot. And they're right side up on her leg, and I'm like, holy crap, you drew those upside down. She's like, yeah, no big deal. So I had to try it too. So I drew these upside down, and here's what they look like right side up. How did I do? Do you like them? I think she did a much better job than I did. This was when my Ohuhu soft chisel tips came in. It was a sponsored short that I did them for, but I got practicing with the markers immediately, and I really like how this tiger came out. I was really enjoying using those markers. And then on this page was just another crayon drawing that Lily might have done. When I posted this to Patron, one of the patrons commented, they're like, so which of Apollo's children is the best artist? Because it's clearly not Lily. Ah! She's a baby! Be nice to her. This was just the bleed from the tiger, and I have like a sea of art utensils in one of my dresser drawers right now, and as I was adding a pack of highlighters I found to it, they were branded like Mr. Mustache highlighters or something, and there was just a paper mustache in with them, so Tiger gets to wear that. This is when my brother came over temporarily to help me out with something. So while he was here, I got shapes from him too. I showed him all the other shapes, explained the whole shebang to him. And his were like, he decided to make them overlapping, which I never would have thought of that. That was fun. This was challenging, but I like how this one came out. Fire drew this page for me. This was right before he left, so Kat and Neneko and more of their little PMD Sonas. And then I also wanted to draw more of the Mystery Dungeon AU, so here's Apollo is Wigglytuff and Ben is Chatot. In the game, they are Team Prism, and the I is an upside-down exclamation mark. And this was the kids menu from Whiskey Cake when I went with Fire. I nabbed it right before we left, and I don't know what came over me. I just really wanted to fill it in with, what's it called? Pink Flamingo quotes? What is that movie called? I don't know. Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder. Advocate cannibalism. Eat shit. It's a good quote. I think about it a lot. And then these were the shapes that I got from my mom while we were in the waiting room, because I had to go to the doctor for an x-ray. Got him. So yeah, the night that this happened, like literally just an hour or two after Fire left my place, I fell and I landed on my hand, and it hurt so bad. I was so sure that I like broke it. I swore that I broke my wrist. I could not sleep that night. I was so sure, like, couldn't go to the hospital or anything yet because they were closed. It was too late at night. So I had to go the next morning, just babying my hand the whole time. I get my x-ray. They told me to put my hand in this position. This was not my idea. And they're like, it looks perfectly fine. It's probably just sprained. $200, please. Cool, thanks. I get the right to scrapbook it, so I had to scrapbook my x-ray. They did not just print it out. They gave it to me on CD paper, and my nurse was so cool. By the time I decided that I really wanted to ask her for a tiger, it was too late and I never saw her again, so instead I got my mom's boyfriend to draw this tiger for me. This was on the CD case that my x-rays came in while I got them printed out at my mom's place. And then the actual cover of the CD case reminded me of monitoring, so I drew Kat with the Best Friends remix, even though it would still very much be in a romantic context for Neneko and Kat with this Best Friends remix. But oh man, I love listening to that song and thinking about them. I love Kat. And then this is just when we were leaving that doctor's office, my mom also has started just grabbing papers that she sees to see if I want to scrapbook them. So this is just an IV drip. It's the IV drip that makes you gay. On this page, I did more of those figure drawings that Chi told me about, or I did the upside down and the regular side heart here and here. I did 2 pages of those. And then I had gone to Half Price Books because I wanted to grab a bunch of children's books to help me do more studies for these characters leading up to Prism and everything. And one of the books just happened to have these like paper Dr. Seuss glasses inside of them, so I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to make a Dr. Seuss spread. I think this came out so stinking cute. And then last page is this is the sticker that we're going to be giving out at Lightbox. If you guys are going to Lightbox this year, you should hit us up. We're gonna be having a panel doing drag figure drawing on the second day, I think like Saturday in the afternoon. Someone put that information up on screen, please. And our drag queen's gonna be dressed up as Berserker Tia. It's gonna be awesome. So we'll be giving that out. We will see you there, and that's the end of the sketchbook. Thank you guys so much for watching this one. I hope you're all having a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye! Actually, one more thing. Thank you so much also to my patrons. we wouldn't be able to maintain the team and to be working on the game that we're working on without our patron support for sure. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, Patreon has 3 tiers. $2 a month gets you access to everything we post behind the scenes, like video previews, any assets or art we're working on for videos, and of course, stuff that we're working on for the game. $5 a month gets you access to our twice-monthly Patreon live streams, where sometimes we are doing work and sometimes we are playing games, but we are always on call with the team. It's a fun little peek behind the scenes. We have fun there. And $10 a month gets your name at the end of my videos, just like this. Thank you so much. And once again, I hope you're all having a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye!
Ready? 3, 2, 1, let it rip!